Hello, everyone. How are you? Welcome to Wellness Wednesday. I am so excited to have my guest here, Lucia Pavone. Say hello, Lucia.
Hi,
So
everyone.
excited to have my guest here. Uh-oh. And that's hilarious because we just talked about
I
that.
know, and I turned it off. I apologize. Okay.
Oh, it's all good.
Oh
It's all
my
good. We've
gosh.
that's happened so many different times. I can't
Yes,
even
I
begin to tell you.
know.
So, I'm going to share with you guys how Lucia and I met. She is such an amazing soul, so sweet. Her energy is fantastic. Uh, we were just talking about when was the last time that we met, and we narrowed it down. We think it was in 2016.
Mhm.
And we met at this conference called Thrive Academy. They were doing a client what is it? Client Attraction Summit. It was
Mhm.
the Client Attraction Summit was what it was. And that's for like small business owners or people that are looking to start their businesses and to learn how to attract clients to their business. And I remember like, I think you even approached me and said hello, and you were just so warming, and because you were taking photos, we'll get into that. Because I forgot about that. I thought you're a really good photographer,
Thanks.
and she was taking photos, and she was just so sweet and warm and welcoming because I didn't really know a lot of people except for one other person that was there. And I've been following her over the years and just seeing how much, I mean, was already like big during that time, but really how she's opened up and blossomed. And it's really incredible. And I think this topic is extremely important in talking about sexual energy because some people shy away from it. Some people are like, oh, I'm not that's not for me. So I do want to put this out there. If this makes you uncomfortable, then maybe this is not the live that you want to watch today. I just want to put that little disclaimer out there. But I think sexual energy is important for everyone. Excuse me. So before I have Lucia kind of share a little bit with her about her and her background, just want to say hi to some people. So good to see you guys all here. Hey, EQ, I see that you are lurking. Hello. Hey, Ron. Ron is Ron Unconditional Love Tarot. I referred to him as my big bro. Hello, hello. Hey, Gina. Hey, Cass. You found me during Sheila's channel anniversary Zoom. Oh, awesome. Welcome. I'm so happy that you're here. Thank you. Be sure to like and subscribe while you're here. Hey, Constance. Missed you. I don't know if you caught us yesterday on the Nasty Women Tarot. Guys, it was insane. We were on there for 11 hours. Just insanity. Hey, hey, Anna Banana. Nice to see you. Hey, Kathy G. Yeah, exactly, Kathy G. She says, how are you feeling this evening? I had to take a nap. I had to take a nap, but I'm doing good. Hey, Simpress, good to see you. Welcome, welcome. Yeah, Simpress, you hung out pretty much that long haul as well. And there's Lisa, one of the half of the nasty women. So yeah, your fault, Lisa. That's all I'm going to say. Kidding. And Arlene and Vivian, yes, welcome everyone.
Hi,
So
everyone. Welcome.
yes, Lucia, I'm again, thank you for being here today. I'm so happy that you're here. And I just want you to share a little bit with everyone about you
Sure.
and how you became a sex educator. And in your title is awesome. Share your title as well, what you like to call yourself.
Sure. Well, hi, everyone. I'm Lucia Pavone. I am a pleasure instigator, permission granter. I'm also a somatic sex educator here in the San Francisco Bay Area. And for those of you who don't know what a somatic sex educator is, I'm just going to refer to Sex, Love, and Goop, Gwyneth Paltrow's series on Netflix. A couple of my friends are on there, Amina from Atlanta Tantra and Jaya. So go ahead and check out what I do in a different way. So, but primarily I work with people around understanding their innate sexual energy, not only for their pleasure to drop into their sexuality, but also to utilize for their trauma healings, ancestral healing, racialized trauma healing, and all around to have a great, fun, sensual life inside and outside the bedroom. Because most of us compartmentalize our sex life, right? Like, here's sex. So how did I get into this field? It's been I say lifetimes. I say past lives. I know I was a temple priestess somewhere in Malta, and my parents are from Sicily, so I have very deep roots to my ancestors. And so I have deep, Mediterranean roots, North African roots, Middle Eastern roots, West Asian roots, and all of that is really ancient land and connected to like the oracles, the Sibyls, and so I feel like this is a natural progression. But really, in this lifetime, how did I get started? Well, back in 2003, I was going through a very intense time. I had a 3-year-old. I had a really intense labor and ended up with a C-section after a planned home birth with my daughter. And in that time, I had no sensation in my genitals around. I could not feel my pleasure. I was like, what is going on? I'd always had a good sex life with my what I'm going to call my husband, because he, is my
husband. That's cute.
And so I was helping a lot of other people during that time to like have vaginal birth after cesarean sections. Started the International Cesarean Awareness Network chapter in Santa Cruz. I was a birth photographer. I was really connected to people, but I was really sad and very miserable inside. I was very depressed. And a friend of mine said, "Hey, Lucia, you're so juicy. You should really like look into these courses around pleasure and sexuality and sensuality." And I thought, courses? Like, wait, who teaches courses about sex? Well, apparently my mentors did. So I jumped in learning actually about what's called extended orgasm or deliberate orgasm. And it was manual stimulation of the clitoris in a state that was highly relaxed. And the first time I saw a woman in orgasm, extended orgasm for an hour, I cried. And I was like, I want to know how to do that. I felt that energy. I was like, I want that. So there began my journey of exploring my own sexuality. And through the years, 6,000 hours of, receiving extended orgasm and being in that heightened state, my husband and I started to teach courses together and demonstrate the hour-long orgasm, as well as, go deeper into relationships. And then, I naturally transitioned after we divorced, or actually before we were divorcing, and decided that I really wanted to go into the route of somatic sex education. And so working one-on-one with people, working deeper in the body as a way to heal. The body never lies. And so I knew that I was here to do that kind of work. So my work also encompasses hands-on myofascial release and sexological body work. So I work and metaphysical work, because before I did all that, I also studied Kabbalistic Tarot, herbalism, and I've been reading tarot cards for 30 years and making medicine, and I'm very much also into medicinal fungi, psychedelic fungi, and all that wonderful stuff that really supports the nervous system. So I'm multi-layered here in what I do.
You really are. My goodness. I love it. And I totally forgot. We said, because Lucia does do cards. And so we were talking about that. And we said that before we really dive into the topic, that we would draw a card for everyone.
Yeah. So I pull with the Mother Peace deck. It's a round deck. I love it. Not what I learned now, but I love Mother Peace because it's got just a different feel to it and a little bit more open. So just want to take a breath with everybody and just call in a beautiful golden protection sphere around us. Something just popped out. So look at that. 2 of Cups. This is the 2 of Cups. 2 of Cups energy. I call this the twin flame card, right? So when we come into this 2 of Cups energy, there is this rebalancing of the divine masculine and feminine energies, especially around our emotions, but coming into this place of understanding who we are. And twos are also associated with the high priestess and sexual energy. So excellent card. Excellent card for our conversation today. Um, maybe I feel like maybe it's going to get a little emotional. Who knows?
Well, it's interesting because my other deck I wasn't feeling it, but I pulled this one and I pulled the voyage card. So
Look at
this
that.
is all about your journey. Look at
Look at
that.
that. And look at that
Yeah.
watery
Yep.
essence here that we've got going on.
Yes.
I love that. About the
Awesome.
journey. Well, it sure has been a journey. So thank you so much for having me on. So yeah, this is so at ease. And
Yeah, it's just about having a conversation. That's what I love about it. And I thought this was great to kick off the new year because people always want to take a look at themselves and think about, what do I want for this new year? What do I want to do differently? What should I need to step into? And I think that sexuality is really important, and especially for those that have experienced trauma. Many people know that I have shared about my trauma that I've had in the past, and others have shared in the chat that they've experienced trauma. So it's bigger than what we think it is. I know when I first didn't really share and I kept it to myself, and as I started opening up, I was just hearing a lot of, oh yeah, me too, me too, me too, and I was like, oh my God. And so it really is something that is important for people to work on and releasing and healing. And especially when you've been, in my case, I was molested. And so to be able to feel and uh I don't know, you just put up all these walls and you get very nervous about opening up and being vulnerable again, because you go into this survival mode of not wanting to have anyone hurt you, whether that's physically, mentally, everything. You're just like, nope, not happening to me. And over the years, it's taken time for me to learn how to bring down that wall. And I've done really well, but there are still sometimes where I'm just kind of like, whoop, I know which button to press to bring it right back up.
this is true. And they say the trauma isn't stored in the mind, it really is stored in the body. And so a lot of our trauma is stored in our womb space, right? So
Mhm.
all people have womb space. And so oftentimes the last thing that is ever really looked at in regards to doing that deep healing work, whether it's ancestral healing, sexual trauma healing, healing from relationships or religious shame healing, the last place that we look at is actually our sexuality. And a lot of people forego this part. They'll go to cognitive therapy for like 20 years and they won't move through anything because they
Yeah.
don't actually get down to the root of the real deep embedded experience. And that can even be ancestral trauma in our DNA. And so a lot of this, when I do my work as a somatic sex educator and work hands-on, or even with somatic exercises, it gets into it's like we're addressing the body, and the body is where we can actually support the deeper healing rather than the mind. It's all connected,
Hmm.
but let's not forget that we got in here through a sex act, right? Somebody had to have a climax to get
Yep.
in here.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Exactly.
at least one person, maybe if we're lucky, two people, but
Right.
statistically, we'll talk about that one too. So for me, it's just a no-brainer. And let's not forget, like, pleasure is your birthright. So I'm here to, this is my main thing. It's like, come on, it's time to like remember that, your kitty cat. I know I'm trying to use better words. Usually I just say, PUSSY and stuff like that. So it's just time to get into it. It's time to like address that your sexuality matters.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, and that is so true. And for someone that has experienced trauma and they're trying to get past that, and what would be one of the first steps that you would say would be something good for them to do? And I know there's so many different levels to that because everyone obviously for someone to seek help, but for someone who's let's rephrase that. Someone has kind of they've already started doing the work that
Right.
they need to do, and now they're just kind of like, okay, now I'm ready to take it a step further and open myself up a little bit more.
Right. Well, I guess the first thing I would say is, really acknowledge that you're taking those steps because it's a really brave thing to do. But I'm gonna speak from the point of view of a somatic sex educator. So, for me, it's really finding somebody that you trust to hold that reverence and space around doing the actual physical healing work. Right. A lot of times, um, we'll talk about our sexual traumas, let's say, and we'll just shut down our bodies. So the
Yeah.
first step is really to start connecting with the body, and I start with like the basics. So like a body scan, really
Mhm.
understanding what your body is saying to you without creating a story or a narrative around around it. Like, so not judging yourself. So that would be the very first step, and actually understanding like what is your sexual wholeness really like what does it mean to be a sexually whole person. So to take those cognitive thoughts, get them down in a way that you can actually look at a mind map and be like, oh, my sexual wholeness includes pleasure, it includes massages, it includes anal sex, whatever you want, and go from there. Like really start to pin it down so that you can take those small steps or those bigger leaps towards your sexual wholeness.
Wonderful advice. I did see a comment here. And guys, if you have any questions, please feel free to go ahead and put that into the uh, chat. Please go ahead and do that. Um, so Indigo Chrysalis Tarot says, I feel sex is overemphasized when so many intimate emotions are just as important, if not more.
Hmm. Yeah,
Mhm.
intimacy and sex aren't the same thing. So we'll just, put that aside for a second. Intimacy is wonderful. Absolutely. We all want to feel and create intimate relationships. But honestly, sexuality is super important. And most people have kind of pushed it aside as something as second class. But sexual energy is really what can support healing in our bodies, especially around trauma, especially around shame and guilt, religious shame, all that. And I see, Crystal, Indigo, you asked
Yeah.
another question around vulgar words, and I will address that. I do not at all feel that those words are vulgar. Actually feel like a reclamation of understanding that my genitals don't want to be called vagina because it's not a vagina. It's not. It's a vulva. So I can start with vulva, but I like to, people name their genitals, and I don't think that those are vulgar words. Those are society having tarnished those words, and so I encourage people to find the word that feels good for them so that they can feel really connected to, to their genitals the way they
Mhm.
want. And so I love to call my genitals my kitty cat or my pussy. And I'm going to say it out loud because I don't have any shame around that. I actually feel like it empowers me and it feels so much sexier and sensual than to say my vulva, quite honestly,
Mhm.
and so I really don't feel. I think that that's a personal choice ultimately,
Yeah.
and surely something that get a mirror, look down there, and be like, oh, she's my purring kitty, or she's my magnificent, starbeam, or whatever,
Mhm. Mhm.
whatever you want, but have something with her. And sex does not create intimacy. We'll go back to that. Intimacy is created through being able to communicate effectively and being able to feel deeply within your body. When you cut off your sexual energy, it's really hard to even get intimate in that level. So
Yeah.
that's where I'm going to end it with that.
Yeah, I think it's important to, everyone, it's about connecting with yourself.
Mhm.
It's going to be challenging if you're not able to connect with yourself. How are you going to connect with another individual?
Right.
So it's getting really comfortable with yourself, getting comfortable with your body, Like Lucia said, whichever words feel right for you, then go with that.
Oh,
And I always say to everybody, to each your own. Everybody, what feels good to you, what feels right for you.
yes.
The key is for you connecting with yourself and loving yourself, so that if you choose to be in a relationship or have a partner, that then you can really engage with that person feeling secure with yourself.
Absolutely.
um, J Rock says, so sexual wholeness is unique to the individual. Is that constantly evolving?
Oh, great. That is a great, very well thought out question. Thank you, J Rock. Yes, every individual has their own sexual wholeness because sexuality and pleasure is subjective, right? Only you know what feels good to you. Only you have the thoughts and the experiences that have created your concept about sexuality. So there's like the textbook, this is how you have sex, and then there is, what does my sexual wholeness look like? Because it looks different for everybody. So I work with people who maybe they consider themselves asexual, and so their sexual wholeness includes, cuddling, it includes words of affirmation, it includes cooking together, because all those things still, they can feel it in their bodies. Is it constantly evolving? Yeah, of course. I mean, nothing. There's a theory called the fallacy of duplicity. We like to say things are always the same. Oh, we're always having the same kind of sex. We always do it that way. That is not true, because you're a different person second by second. So every time you connect with somebody, it's always a different experience. It might be similar, but when you focus on the similarities, you're really missing out on the subtleties in life, right? The
Mhm.
subtleties is the differences make us unique. They make us really feel deeply connected to other people when we get curious. So your sexuality is absolutely evolving. It evolves for so many different reasons. Because you're because of the new experiences that you've had, because of the interactions with the partners you have, because of growing older and maybe not caring so much about how your butt looks like when you're 20. It's like it could be anything, right? It's like yes, yes, and isn't that wonderful that your sexuality is evolving?
Yeah.
And for me, I'm going to be 50 this year. Actually, it's 2022. It's my 50. I'm going to be a half a century old this year, and
Which
here
will
I
be part of the 50 club.
am. And I feel like my sexuality is evolving, and my sex is getting better because I'm exploring myself more and more around what it is I want. So, and I feel like I become less judgmental as well.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like what Flowing said, taking back our feminine power.
Absolutely. Yeah, the divine feminine energy within all of us, but remembering, now we'll just say feminine doesn't mean feminist. So feminine power really is the energetics of the feminine flowing principles, right? We all have that. Everybody has that. But for people who identify as women with clitorises, we have something extra special because we were born with like an energy power source. And so once we start to connect with that source, it really is what fuels our creativity, our supports us in our intuition. It's our attraction power. It's our manifestation power. So all these pieces, and it also, when we get into connecting with that divine feminine knowing, we truly start to like break down the shatter the walls of conformity, right, and
Mhm.
societal regulation. And so there's actually, this time, if you are into astrology, or it's like the age of Aquarius has come upon us, and here that Piscean rulership has like dissipated, and that feminine, fluid, flowing Aquarian age is really about the divine feminine coming in and doing what you all did last night, 11 hours of like moving together in your energy, and that is your power source, your feminine energy is like that. you know that joining of forces is very potent in manifestation, and it's also potent
Yes.
in connecting us to divine spirit and our psychic ability. So you
Mhm.
don't want to push away the sexual energy. You definitely want to embrace it.
Yes, I
Mhm.
love that.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Gina, for posting that. While you're all here, please don't forget to hit that thumbs like up button, like and subscribe. I love this, what Simpress says here. Talking about terminology reminded me of when my OBGYN grandpa told me about a patient who wanted to name her daughter Vulva.
Empress, that is hysterical. And I've heard stories like that. And I also heard you saying in a comment, healing that black moon Lilith energy. So my Lilith is in Scorpio, as well as my moon is Scorpio. So I feel like I'm absolutely no. Oh, I didn't feel any disrespect at all.
Yeah, not at all, Heather. It was, I think it was a good question because a lot of
Yeah, it's a great
people
question.
do think about that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
not
yeah.
at all.
Oh yeah. I didn't feel that at all.
Oh,
So
go
this
ahead, go ahead. And I got something quick to say, but go
very
ahead.
But this Black Moon Lilith energy that Sunburst was talking about, that is the dark Lilith, um, the original, um, before Eve, there was Lilith, right? So when we talk about Lilith, we talk about the original, um, the dark moon as a melanated woman. So we talk about Lilith in that way in healing our sexual energy. So it's really important to really honor that energy. Lilith is directly associated with um, people say the darkness, but it's quite
Mhm.
different. It's actually coming into the light is how I look at it. Like that part of you that really deserves to be embraced, and it's been squashed down,
Yeah.
unfortunately, by religion, by patriarchal, um, you know, rulership, by societal standards. So it's really time to all of us have to start embracing this because it's how the planet's going to heal.
Yes, absolutely. Sorry, I just did like a quick little scroll when I saw Heather's name. So Heather is from lives in Niagara Falls, New York.
Oh, really?
And I forgot to mention that to everyone. The other cool thing was when Lucia and I met, we're both from Rochester, New York.
We're like, what?
Yeah,
How?
I was like, wow, small world. You never know sometimes. So I thought that was really cool. So that just activated when I saw her there that we have the upstate New York connection going on right there. Yeah, with Lilith and even all the goddesses, I think that was probably one of my biggest things after, getting divorced. I was just kind of like, my God, what? I was married for
Mhm.
16 years together, 18 years. So having been out of this whole new scene of the way things are now,
Mhm.
I was like, where do I go? Where do I start? I don't mean like, I'm like, oh my God, I'm 50 years, over 50 years old. Like I don't know what to do. This is so weird for me and so different. And I met this woman. I took a goddess course. She had this course on goddesses and working with the goddesses. When you said Lilith, that made me think of her as well. And Oshun is one of my favorite goddesses. And just working with these goddesses and reconnecting or literally going deeper with my sexuality, it just brought out so much, and I was just so greatly appreciative of that because that was part of my journey as well as learning to open up. And as I've shared with you, and many of you known as well, that I've done ayahuasca ceremonies that just help open up and release a lot of my stuff. We'll just leave it like that, my stuff. And it's been amazing, amazing. So I really love, I have my goddess oracle card. That's what I should have picked. But anyhow, I love my working with goddesses. They're just the energy from it. It's amazing. Hey, Jackie.
I really love that you brought up this piece around, transitions out of relationships. So, what I want to say is, I feel really fortunate that, like, during my marriage, um, my husband and I actually took courses together around sexuality and sensuality, and so it was a really developed part of our connection and our relationship. And I didn't really know at the time, but that was really healing in so many ways to be in that. Utilizing my sexual energy for pleasure, but pleasure heals. And so when I was going through my divorce from him, one of the things that kept consistent was to be in my pleasure. So, a lot of times people will shut down their sexual energy after leaving a relationship and think like I have to have a waiting period and I can't be with anybody else, and I had to figure out myself. But I knew a lot about myself, and I was very connected to my sexual energy as I am now. So I feel like that actually supported me in moving through. I did also want to experience some deeper pieces with that. And, oftentimes when we do psychedelics, a lot of the components of of certain psychedelics mimic orgasm, or what orgasmic energy is. And I want to say orgasmic energy to me is what I call the breath of God, as opposed to climax, which is like a crotch sneeze and wonderful and feels really good. There's this ability to actually move this energy through your body, and in your inner apothecary, your chemical reactions that are happening in your brain are very much like some of the releases that happen with psychedelics. You can get into a hypnagogic state, that heightened state, and really do some deeper connection. Because your cervix is connected to your pineal gland through your vagus nerve. And, I'm a total brain geek. So if you're not following along, I'm a sexy brain geek. So I talk a lot about the vagus nerve, the brain, orgasm, and how it all connects. And I also am a psychonaut. So I really appreciate like certain psychedelics. And I have done Bufo. I have, done psilocybin. I've microdosed ayahuasca, which is completely different and interesting. But ultimately, I think they all benefit us in different ways. Not for everybody, but definitely, you can have that ability to maybe go a little bit deeper.
Yeah, definitely. Few comments we have here. Jay says, creative energy and sexual energy are one of the same, and it's important for us to appreciate, embrace, and respect that fully in our own way. Just my 2 cents.
Yeah, absolutely. You're 100% right. We were saying that earlier, that our sexual energy is that creative life force energy that we can use to, sexual transmutation. Napoleon Hill talks about it in Grow Rich and Think and Grow Rich. And he talks about transmutation. But the thing is that energy is so potent. Don't just go out transmuting your sexual energy without some very good guidance. And I saw something about Tantra. Yeah, I do teach Tantra, and I am, I work in that field. It's a little bit different than Tantra. Extended orgasm, somatic sex education is completely different field. But there's a lot of trainings that I've taken. And so, yes, I'll train couples in tantric touch, as well as like eye gazing, hand to heart, yap yum, and all of those tantric practices as well. And so tantra is really beautiful, right? And it's just one way to experience sexuality, for sure. And it's fun.
J-Rock says, thank you. Never considered affirmations or cooking as part of sexual health and wholeness. Very cool.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, J-Rock. So, yeah, when we affirm our souls like that, our hearts, right, all of that's really connected, through our sexual energy, for manifestation purposes, right? We talk a lot about, if you ever heard of concept around sex magic, or I call it sensual alchemy, where we take what we feel through our senses, using our sexual energy in particular, to really magnetize our body. I have the best experience in everything we do. So when I cook, it really turns me on. Like I love touching my food.
Guys, let me tell you, Lucia has done a video. You've done videos, and when she shares food and fruit and she talks about it, like you're literally like this, like, whoa. Because you grow your own olives, don't you?
Well, at the time, my mother-in-law did, and so I would pick the olives. I actually have some that I just made in the fridge. So yeah, I make my own olives. Like I make my limoncello. I just broke open a fig, basil, lavender, rose hip cordial with brandy
Wow.
in it. Um, I love growing. I love gardening. I love all that. I make my own, tinctures, and Yeah.
It's just the way that you're like, you can really see and feel your pleasure
Mm.
when you're sharing the food, or when you're talking. You're just so like, I mean, for me, I'm just like, "Hey guys, look, I got some food." You know? And it's like about learning to slow down and enjoy it. And I've done that on occasion with some fruit
It's
and stuff, and I
true.
get it. It's just so really enjoy it. Take your time with it. And that's what you do. And I think that is awesome that you're just all about pleasure. And it's beautiful to see.
Thank you. Yeah. The food piece is interesting. I was like laughing. I'm like, oh yeah, I saw you like doing that. I just inhale it. I'm like, oh yeah, I used to inhale my food, and sometimes I do when I'm really hungry. But I've had recently partners that they're not big foodies. Like one of them would just like eat like everything. It's like an ex-boyfriend. And I was like so impressed because he loved my cooking, but he would want like 10 helpings of it or something.
Oh,
And then I'm like, I look at how people eat and I'm like, oh, I just try not to change people's way anymore. I'm just like, I'm not gonna change what that person likes. They like to go to In-N-Out, they like to go, get Popeye's chicken, whatever it's like I don't do that anymore. But what I do is I put intention into my food. So if they're coming to dinner at my place, that they know that there's a lot of love in it so that they get that infused. Um,
beautiful.
mhm.
Semper says, healing that black moon Lilith energy.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's so funny because I think about that black moon Lilith energy and I think that is actually what heals us rather than healing that energy. That energy is healing us because that is your sexual energy. So maybe flip it around. Like we're not trying to heal the black moon Lilith energy. We're actually trying to use that energy to do the healing.
Mm. Yeah, she said, I just noticed the other day my Lilith and North Node are both in Capricorn, and it feels kind of significant that my purpose path shares where my Lilith energy is activated in my chart.
Yeah, isn't that interesting, Sempress? It's like, so maybe consider that place where, how can you utilize your sexual energy for, the grounding aspects. So here we are. It's like look into your chart and see, if your Lilith is in Capricorn and North Node, you said North Node in Capricorn.
Mhm.
It's like there's a correlation here in knowing that maybe standing firm in that kind of action, taking action, because there's that earthen energy that you're going with. And that's really hard sometimes for people with that earthen energy to kind of spark that fire. So it could be potentially something that, can I pull a card for you, Sempress? I'm really feeling like there's like a little message for you around
That's
this.
awesome.
Yeah, sometimes, people's energy comes through. Like a lot wants to come through. Ooh, there's a little activation in there in my womb space. So let's see what comes up. Okay, Spirit. You said pick up cards, so let's see. All right. I got this Six of Wands, which is really potent. So if you've struggled in the past around your sexuality or really around the creativity aspect, I keep thinking here that this fire energy is like ready to kind of take off for you, Sempress. So you're right in it. It feels like when I'm feeling from you in particular, like activating in your room space, it's like the creative energy is about to flow. So if you're about to birth creative project, I'm thinking, I'm sorry, it's Eight of Wands, not Six of Wands. So Eight of Wands. So it's a little bit more around, you're coming into fruition with whatever manifest project that you've been kind of manifesting. And I keep feeling it could even be around relationship. When we have this like little, I call it the Cupid card, right? Um,
Mm.
there's something coming in. I don't know anything about your relationships, but maybe you got to do a little bit of navigating that somewhere in there.
All right, thank you for that.
Yeah.
Exactly, J Rock. Be in your pleasure.
Yeah.
That's
Yes.
definitely a gem.
Absolutely, J Rock. This is the place. I My Lilith is in Leo as well as my rising sign. I'm a sun in Leo. Great, that's fun. Bet you're a lot of fun. To
Yeah,
be
Jay's our little bro. We love Jay.
well, if he's, it could also be like if your Lilith is in Leo, it might be something to actually look into as like, have you been, embracing that divine energy for pleasure? Like, have you actually roared into it? You might be a softie, but it might be time to actually kind of, you know, enact that sexual energy. People saying hedonistic is a more, yeah, makes me laugh because I don't. I'm going to read this. This is a good question. I've heard that people using hedonistic a bit more as a derogatory term for society lately, and it's kind of makes me laugh because I don't see a lot of pleasure, at all. Escapism is more accurate. So I use this term responsible hedonism, responsible hedonist. A hedonist at the most basic form is a lover of pleasure. And so isn't it funny that the church somehow turned hedonist into heretic, or associated it with like something demonic or evil to feel pleasure? Because what happens when you actually tap into, your pleasure centers, your nervous system, your hedonist, is that you can actually start to feel really good about yourself. You can start to love yourself. And responsible hedonism really is about, knowing that you can't have pleasure and fun at somebody else's expense. Understanding your sexual energy and your journey should never be at the expense of somebody else, ever.
Absolutely. I'm saying hello to people in the chat as they come in as well. Heather's asking, can doing shadow work help with sexual trauma?
Ooh, the short answer is yes. So there, we've talked the past 5 years. I've heard shadow work go into the dark parts. And so, what I want to say about shadow work is that, all of us try to avoid the pain, right? Most people are told that pain is bad, pleasure is good, but in some cases, we actually live, which is interesting. We live in a pain-oriented society. Like, look at the United States. It's like totally colonized, puritanical society that has, made sexuality and really stolen people's, pleasure from them from the get-go. So we've been, I talk a lot about decolonizing our sexuality. The people of this land that I'm on, here in Berkeley and the Ohlone, I always give thanks to the people of the land I'm on because, there it was a stolen land. And so when you think about the idea of pain, the pain body, pain is one attribute. Pain and pleasure are the same are different interpretations of pleasure. So going into the darkness can help, but don't get too comfortable in the dark because there's a lot of healing in the pleasure. So we can, and the way the darkness heals, the shadow work heals, is by actually embracing that sexual energy, embracing the pleasure part about it, and knowing your body. Like, it all starts with you. We're like, how do I have a better sex life with my husband or wife? And it's like, you look inside, you go into your pleasure, you get out the mirror, you do sensuality exercises, you draw your bath, you self pleasure, you understand what it means to be joyous, you start exploring. The foundation is communication, though. You have to be willing to communicate. Most of us don't have really the words. So shadow work, yeah, I have a course called Heal Your Sexual Soul. We definitely dive into the shadow work with like ancestors, family. Like, you have to know where you started, but once you understand where everything started, then you get to have the choice. It's all ultimately a choice if you decide to come out of it. And the way to support your choices is through understanding how your sexual energy can really, truly soften you and guide you. It's like your internal GPS. it's pretty amazing what it can do for you.
I love that.
Yeah.
And Debsy, thanks for posting. I don't think, Lucia, you don't have a YouTube channel, do you?
I do.
Oh, you do? Oh, okay. That wasn't part of Debsy found it and posted it. And I was like, wait, that wasn't in what you provided me. So I just want to make sure.
It's so funny because I don't really do a lot on YouTube. And some people say just pick one social media outlet. So I do have YouTube. I have Instagram is where I do most of my, social media networking. I have my Facebook page, which, is pretty solid too, but I'm kind of migrating away from Facebook. I have a private Facebook group called the Luscious Sisterhood, for people who identify as women. So if you want to join that, shoot me a little message and I'll add you to Luscious Sisterhood. But it's just like for people who identify as women. And so, yeah, I do have a YouTube channel. You can, just type in Lucia Pavone YouTube and you can check it out. There are some good tidbits in there. A lot of my stuff, I usually use it to lock away certain things for people who, through going through funnels and stuff like that. So, or stuff embedded into my website and whatnot. So,
I'm posting your links. It's also in the description, everyone. So if you want to go, this is moving too fast in the chat, or you need to come back to the video later, all her social media links are in the description. And I want to make sure I don't forget, if you are interested in finding out more information about working with Lucia, pinned at the top, she is offering a free consultation for anyone that's interested. So just click on that link and you can go ahead and reach out to her. I also want to let everyone know I'm posting your website here now.
And I work with all genders, by the way. So I don't stick to just, people who identify as women. I work with all genders and I have international clients as well. And so a lot of my work right now is on Zoom, but I do have clients I have a client flying in from Italy in a couple weeks and to do an intensive with me. So I definitely take clients in person if you're in the Bay Area and you're doing somatic sexological body work. So just hands-on work. So keep that in mind.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
You want to tell everyone what Clubhouse is, just in case people don't know what that is?
Sure. So Clubhouse is, it's an app that really revolves. It's a platform that allows people to create clubs. And it's, first of all, it's all auditory. So there's no video in there. People come in, set up their bios, put their, avatars in there, and they can start a club or they can just go and listen in on people's room. So every club can start a room. There's all different topics. I mean, there's millions of people on Clubhouse around the world. So you have really an international platform to talk to. I'm on there almost daily in different clubs. I'm generally a moderator in about 4 or 5 different clubs consistently. There's Single in the City, the Pleasure Journey with my friend Tatiana Carrera, who I just did an incredible podcast with couple weeks ago. There's also the Relationship Expert Room with Scrap, who he has a great YouTube channel here, and he's had people like Tiffany Haddish on the show, and so he's pretty amazing. There's there's like famous people on Clubhouse, and they all come. It's a platform where you can actually share information, where you can teach, and you can monetize on there too. So for people who are in business and business owners, you can bring your platform there. Excuse me, I'm talking a little bit too much. So I'm going to look at the question though.
Yeah, it's from Sylvia. I'm not sexually shy yet. I don't utilize it. What proper intention is best to say to myself to allow more intimacy in 2022?
Oh gosh, Sylvia, that's such a beautiful question. And so, I would say that, what I would actually do is probably some kind of, you said an intention, probably intention around, experiencing your sensual wholeness, right? Like where, if pleasure and fun is what you seek, you're going to find it in all you do, right? So you're not sexually shy, but start to get into what is it that you truly have a vision of. Is it a relationship? Is it exploring on your own for a little bit and having that intention to really find alignment from mind, heart, body, soul, and genitals, right? I teach a course called Align to Your Sensual Life. And it's for people who identify as women to kind of reclaim that place in themselves of, I have the sexual energy. It's not just for sex. Like, what else can I use it for? How do I communicate what it is I want? So really, I would put the intention around, you know, um, having fun. How can I have fun and utilize my sexual energy for more fun and joy in my life? Fun, joy, and
Yeah,
pleasure. Yeah, that's
I
where
love
I.
that.
Mhm.
And I think too, it's important that when we do and we go out and have fun, like really be present. Really be present, feel into it. I mean, for me, travel is one of those things that just sexual energy and everything else, I just feel so open and so alive. And I've learned, because I also love to do photography, I, would consistently be behind the camera everywhere that I went. And I've learned to kind of step away from that
Yeah.
and just say, okay, let me enjoy this moment and fully take everything in. So it's like heightening all your senses, everything that you have, and just feeling into it. It's incredible when you start living that way. Set the intention to live more pleasure.
Yeah, living a sensual life is so much fun because you're igniting, and I call it blooming out of atrophy, right? So most of us are really numb to life.
Mm,
And when we come into our own, especially understanding our sexual energy, we bloom out of atrophy and things start to look like they're in technicolor, right? Everything you do, everything tastes better, smells better, sounds better. We become alive. So really tapping into your senses is going to be the way to ignite your sensual journey, your sexual journey, and have fun with it, right? And then
yeah.
again, you know what? I'm really open to, like, we don't always have to be sensualist. Some of us are kinky. Some of us are like, some of us just want to go out there and have a good time. Like, all of it is okay. So if you want to have an experience, start naming what that experience is. Like, there's no shame in saying, hey, you know what? I've never had a one night stand. I would really like to try that out. Oh, I've never had this kind of sex act. I'd really like to try that out. I realize that it doesn't necessarily make you less spiritual, especially if know how to protect your heart and know how to protect your energy. But if you want to experience things, experience them with intention, integrity, and a full heart, and be ready to, like, receive the energy and feel the love that you get from that.
That's awesome.
Mhm.
Oh, Katie just wanted to share that she also is a big time gardener, both indoors and out.
Yay! I love that. Oh, good, good. I'm like propagating some plants. I'd like to have. I've never been a very good. I count a lot of my plants will die inside. I gotta admit. I'm like, but I I'm doing pretty good in my small space. So I've got my aloe and I've got a couple other plants that I'm working with. But outdoors, and just get me outside with a hat, some sunglasses, and little booty shorts. And I love to be in the garden.
I don't have the space to have an outdoor garden, unfortunately. That's a goal, but I do. It's so funny. I've been called, I think, during the quarantine period to start growing things, and I had this plant at the office that everyone would laugh at me because I would always forget to water it. But I
Mhm,
brought it home and it was literally this big when I went to go get it from the office because we all came and was working from home. It's
mhm.
like this big now. I mean, it's huge. I had to put it into a bigger pot. Then I started like planting some other things, some lavender, because I want to get into learning how to plant herbs. And excuse me, I used to call myself a plant killer. I'm trying to get away from saying that, but
Right, right. My plants thrive and are making my home beautiful. Like,
yeah,
I'm really big into affirming the good.
absolutely. All right. JR says, I think having only lived in the South Bible Belt area makes any sexual conversations taboo, and it's a challenge to become aware or even open up to your sexual power outside the primal definitions.
Yeah, J Rock. First of all, thank you for saying that. Now I didn't grow up in the Bible Belt, but what I want to say is that my parents are from Sicily. They grew up very strict Catholic. I mean, it was like, shut your legs, don't you dare even think about having sex or even talking about sex. I mean, even getting my period was like traumatic for me. It was like, oh my God, you can't use a tampon. You're not going to be a virgin anymore. Oh my God, you're a woman.
Oh, yeah.
I got my period at like 10, right before my 11th birthday. It was like, oh my God, Lucia's on lockdown now. And I'm like, I mean, it was very traumatic. So yes. I work and support a lot of people who have a lot of religious shame and guilt and trauma around that, because a lot of us, we did grow up in the church, and it was and the church itself could have been traumatizing, depending. And let me say, I believe in God. I'm very spiritual, and so I've maintained my spirituality. I'm not really practicing Catholic at all. I don't believe in that kind of organized religion anymore. I believe there's a place for me, right? A place to learn about certain things, that things were hidden. Like, for example, I'm about to go to Hawaii in a couple of weeks to study with Alessandra Belloni around the Black Madonna, which is from my culture in Sicily, and the trance dances of Southern Italy, which are all North African rhythms. And so things like that were hidden into the indoctrination of churches. So in some ways, you can take some of those pieces. It does make sexuality hard to talk about, but just know it's like that trauma in your body, that shame or guilt or like inability to speak, can be shifted just by putting some attention on really loving yourself and understanding that you are worthy of touch. You're worthy of being a sexual being, if that's what you feel worthy of. And besides besides procreation, the clitoris has 8,000 nerve endings, and so I don't think God made a mistake giving somebody a part of their body. Only purpose is to feel pleasure. So think about it that way. And penises and clitorises, they're what's called homologous, the same sex part. So penises also have 4,000 nerve endings, or maybe 10,000 if they are not circumcised. And you guys, penises can feel just as much pleasure, for the pleasure's sake, not necessarily procreation. Mm-hmm.
Simpress, I love this. She says, sorry, was finishing my dinner. My Sag Sun, Rising, Merc, and Mars definitely helped me balance the earth of it. Thank you for pulling a card for it. Very much working on relationship, both romantic and not.
Great. Good. Well, Simpress, this is a good time to, use some of that Sag fire, right?
I love that. Thank you, Gina, for posting that. Yes, please don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe to the channel.
Yeah.
Deb Z, again, thank you for posting Lucia's YouTube channel.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Yeah, you got a few subscriptions here. That's awesome.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. This has been such a fun group to chat with, and so many great questions. Invite her, Belle.
Hey, Mashika.
Hi, Mashika. Please, I mean, I really love talking about this, and Sonia is so wonderful to have invited me. I know it can be a really taboo topic, sexuality, especially, if we're talking, a lot of people would compartmentalize spirituality and sexuality. I do not. It is part of who I am. My spirituality is really attainable through my sexuality, and being able to come closer. I always say nirvana is really lonely, so the party is right below nirvana. So you might as well enjoy your body, enjoy the pieces of who you are. Pleasure is your birthright. And when you start to really dive deeper, there's so many different facets to it. And I love that we can talk about it openly here. So thank you.
Yes, no, thank you. And I realized I said your last name wrong because I said Pavone. It's Pavone, right?
In the United States, they'll say Pavone, but it's Pavone. Pavone means peacock. So the peacock
Does it really? Oh, that's so cool. I love that. Look, and I have my little peacock earrings on.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, they say the peacock is the phoenix rising here on Earth.
Fantastic. Lucia, thank you so much. Everyone, again, that free consultation, if you are interested, it is pinned up there at the top. I also have that in the description, all of Lucia's social media links. And yes, any questions, please feel free to reach out to her. And yeah, I would definitely love to have you come back. This has been such a great talk. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Sonia. I really appreciate the time, and this has been a great group. And yeah, please feel free to reach out to me, and I'll be having a group course coming up. I have a new course for men coming up called Rise of the Divine Masculine.
Oh,
So
nice.
I know that's a totally different thing. So there's a lot going on in 2022, and of course, I'm embracing my own sexual energy to manifest all the things I want. So this year, I'm just going to put it out there, calling in a beautiful partner, calling in a beautiful home with my partner. I'm calling in all these good things,
I love it.
building a good life. And that's a lot of fun.
Fantastic. Well, thank you all for being so active in the chat too, for all your questions. I appreciate you all. Thank you for hanging out with us. And next Wednesday, just a couple of things. Next Wednesday, I will have Nadia, and her, I should have looked up her last name before I came on here, but she's going to be talking about psilocybin ceremonies. And she is the uh, founder, one of the persons of the first above ground churches for psilocybin ceremonies here in the United States. So she will be here next week, next Wednesday for Wellness Wednesday. So if you ever wanted to know about ceremonies, that would be a great time to come and check that out. And then I am doing my coffee chat tomorrow morning at 8:30 p.m. Pacific time because I'm taking my daughter off to college this weekend. My baby's leaving me again. It's like I got over that devastation of her leaving, and then she came back, took a little break, and now she's going back again. So I'm like, so yeah, coffee chat tomorrow morning, 8:30 p.m. Pacific time. So hope to see you all then. Otherwise, enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. Bye.
Bye, everyone.